promoting dialogue.
It's May there in Dakar, 1 p.m. in Cotonou. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa, the Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Senegalese President Diomaye Faye obtains the Constitutional Council's approval to dissolve the Assembly. Nigeria's Labour Congress President honors police invitation over questioning regarding investigations into alleged terrorism financing.
We have gone there and we are back. I just want to confirm to you that as a citizen, I've gone there and we are back here.
5 CSOs in Cote d'Ivoire appeal to UN Special Rapporteur on human rights over government decision to regulate their activities. And Ghana's Police Inspector General says the police is working to avoid conflicts with journalists ahead of 2024 election.
And we are mainstreaming media education and protection of journalists and the media where journalists are not being attacked by us.
These stories and more are coming up. Please stay with us.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us and a warm welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana, Liberia and Sierra Leone. Let's begin in Senegal with the latest development, which is the approval given to President Bassirou Diomaye Faye by the Constitutional Council for the dissolution of the National Assembly. The approval of Diomaye Faye's request by the highest judicial organ of Senegal means that the National Assembly could be dissolved in the coming days, precisely from September 12, 2024, as stipulated by law. The Constitution states that before any dissolution is carried out, the deputies will have to complete the first 2 years of the legislature. For the current deputies, their time started counting from the date they took office. Thus, September 12 marks the end of the first 2 years of the legislature. The members of parliament were elected on July 31, 2022, with an opposition majority belonging to the Bibiwa coalition of former President Macky Sall. Meanwhile, still in Senegal, the regional delegation of the International Committee of the Red Cross in Dakar and the Senegalese Red Cross, in collaboration with the families of missing persons, are today commemorating the International Day of Disappeared People. At the town hall, the issue of missing persons is a painful order affecting many families. They share not only the same difficulties, but also the hopes of one day finding their loved ones. Due to armed conflicts, violence, natural disasters, and migration, hundreds of thousands of people are missing worldwide. Let's now travel to Nigeria, where the Nigerian military eliminated several terrorist leaders in the northeast and northwest regions of the country. Major General Edward Buba, Director of Defense Media Operations, made the announcement on Thursday in Abuja, stating that troops have prioritized targeting terrorist leaders, resulting in the neutralization of numerous commanders, foot soldiers, and collaborators. WADR's Abuja correspondent Usma Umar reports.
According to General Buba, the military's efforts have weakened terrorist networks and improved security across all 6 geopolitical zones. In the month of August 2024, troops achieved significant success, neutralizing 419 terrorists and arresting 767 suspects, he said. Additionally, 448 kidnapped hostages were rescued and a substantial amount of weapons and ammunition were recovered, including 278 weapons and 11,617 assorted ammunition.
We are aware that we are dealing with a shrewd, ruthless, and brutal enemy. Accordingly, we are prepared to act with the relevant level of force that will be needed to dismantle these terror groups in whatever form that they take across the country.
Speaking further, the military spokesman said operatives also prevented oil theft worth an estimated 4 billion naira, further disrupting the financial networks of terrorist groups. General Buba's announcement highlights the military's ongoing effort to combat terrorism and insecurity in Nigeria and suggests a significant blow to terrorist organizations operating in the country. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Staying in Nigeria because of Joe Ajaro, president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, who returned to the Labour House after being questioned by police at the force headquarters in Abuja. Ajaro was accompanied by human rights lawyer Femi Falana and others during his visit, which lasted several hours. The police had invited Ajaro for questioning regarding an investigation into alleged terrorism financing, cybercrime, subversion, criminal conspiracy, and treasonable felony. The invitation sparked controversy, with the Labour Congress and other labour unions accusing the government of attempting to intimidate labour leaders. Here's Ajaro and his counsel Maxwell Opara shortly after returning to the Labour House.
We have gone there and we are back. I just want to confirm to you that as a citizen, I've gone there and we are back here. But what is important is the circumstances, that took that place. Or whatever is the case, we're out to continue the struggle.
What we had is quite different from what was contained in the invitation letter. So they said that the NSC president, they just want to ask him one or two questions in respect to the tenant that is here. And he just narrated what he that is just it. So that does not mean that we're going to relent, because we don't know what will come up next.
That was Joe Ajaro, president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, and his lawyer Maxwell Opara.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's now cross over in the Sahel region, beginning with Burkina Faso, where the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has condemned the August 24, 2024 attack by armed terrorist groups on Bazalogo town in the north-central region. In a statement issued Thursday, the regional bloc termed the occurrence as barbaric attacks, which resulted in dozens of civilian deaths and numerous injuries. Despite Burkina Faso's ongoing withdrawal from the regional body, which is set to be completed by the end of 2025, ECOWAS expresses its solidarity with the Burkinabe government and its citizens in their continuing fight against terrorism. The sub-regional organization reaffirmed its commitment to collaborating with member states to combat terrorism, emphasizing the ongoing activation of its counter-terrorism force. ECOWAS calls for enhanced cooperation among its members in areas such as intelligence sharing, border security, and the implementation of comprehensive strategies to counter armed terrorist groups. Authorities in Niger announced a recent interception of a large quantity of equipment potentially destined for armed terrorist groups. According to national television Tele Sahel, Customs Services seized 602 motorcycles transported by 62 trucks. These vehicles, coming from a port on the Gulf of Guinea, had circumvented legal import procedures, which raised concerns among the authorities. Imo Edit has more details in this report.
The Nigerian Minister of Interior, Public Security and Territorial Administration, Brigadier General Mohammed Tumba, on Thursday visited the customs office on the right bank of Niamey to inspect the seizure. The purpose of the visit was to assess the extent of the confiscation and to thank the Defense and Security Forces, FDS, for their remarkable work. General Tumba said the intercepted motorcycles were intended to strengthen the capabilities of armed terrorist groups to continue the destabilization and desolation among the Nigerian population. He noted that the motorcycles, totaling 602 in number, could have been used to move around 1,000 people, the equivalent of an entire battalion. In the Sahel, motorcycles are particularly popular with jihadist groups who frequently use them to move quickly. Faced with this threat, the minister called for increased vigilance by security forces, particularly at the country's borders. General Tumba also stressed the importance of cooperation between security forces and the population, while encouraging citizens to report any suspicious activity. This seizure comes in the context of deteriorating security in Niger. Jihadist groups affiliated with Al-Qaeda and Islamic State have intensified their attacks in recent months, putting a strain on defense and security forces.
Imo Edit fight that report. In Mali, the country's mineral resource research and exploitation company Sorin Malisa is set to develop a new gold mine within the Intahara perimeter located in the Gao region. This development follows the issuance of a research permit by the Malian government. Oge Oberika has the details.
The project is focused on the research, extraction, processing and marketing of mineral resources. Authorities anticipate that this initiative will boost the local economy and create new employment opportunities. However, the project is unfolding within a challenging security environment as the Gao region frequently experiences terrorist attacks. In response, the government plans to implement enhanced security measures to safeguard both workers and local communities. Given the recent escalation in attacks, the army will need to intensify its efforts to address the security challenges associated with the gold mine. Additionally, several questions remain regarding the Ntahaka mine's exploitation. The lack of transparent communication about the project complicates the assessment of its financial implications and environmental impact.
Oge Oberika reporting there. We turn our attention to Ghana as the country's Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, confirmed that the police is making significant efforts to ensure journalists no longer feel threatened by law enforcement. He stated that this is a crucial step in the police force's commitment to becoming one of the best public institutions in the country. While Ghana is known for being one of the most peaceful countries in the region, there have been recent incidents of police mistreating journalists. However, while speaking in Accra at the National Media Dialogue on Defending Media Freedom in anticipation of the December 7 elections, Dr. Akufo-Dampare assured that exclusive efforts are on the way to protect journalists during the election.
Over the years in recent time, try and we continue to try in a sense of guilt and shame to put our house in order. A lot of education is ongoing, and we are mainstreaming media education and protection of journalists and the media to a level that it is helping us to have a situation where we are gradually getting to a point where journalists are not being attacked by us. We have a lot of work to do in that angle. We want to assure you today that we will continue improving so that a day will come, because it's one of the measures we are using to determine whether we have truly become the best institution in the country and a reference point for the rest of the world. So we does not take that of mainstreaming, this sense of protection of journalism and the media, we don't take it for granted. It is in this that we have also made sure that our disciplinary processes, when it comes to how the police deal with the public, and more importantly with other stakeholders, particularly the media, has been strengthened in such a way that if you are found foul of it, you'll be dealt with in a manner to serve as a deterrent for the rest of the police population. So that is one major thing we are doing, putting our house together in order. The other point, it means that when there is going to be an attack, at least by doing our homework well, it may not come from us.
That was Ghana's Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare. Still in Ghana, the Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, has disclosed that the government will use both the syndicated loan and other sources to finance purchase of cocoa beans for the 2024-2025 season. WAD Arrots Nadiditite reports.
On Tuesday, COCOBO's CEO Joseph Boahin Edu announced that the country has weaned itself off the syndicated loan system after 32 years. Thus, for the 2024-2025 crop season, which begins on September 1, COCOBOD will source the funds locally to purchase cocoa beans. The reactions to this were mixed, starting with a minority in Parliament who criticized the decision and accused the cocoa regulator of being economical with the truth. According to the NDC MPs, COCOBOD had come to that decision because it was no longer attractive to the international banks. Some economists, on the other hand, welcomes the decision, while admitting that Cocoa Board may have been forced to take the decision after experiencing challenges last year when it went to the international markets to source funds. On Thursday, during the monthly economic updates in Accra, Ghana's Finance Minister Dr. Amin Adam clarified that the government will indeed seek external funding to support the cocoa sector, contrary to Cocoa Board's earlier statements.
I want to take this opportunity to clarify that as part of measures to improve the financial viability of Cocoa Board, government for the 2024-25 crop season will be sourcing funds through the syndication process and other alternative sources.
The Cocoa Syndicated Loan refers to a financial agreement where the Ghana Cocoa Board secures loans from a group of lenders, typically international banks, to finance the purchase of cocoa beans from farmers. The loan is vital for maintaining Ghana's position on the global cocoa market. The funds help to stabilize the local economy, support farmers, and ensure that Ghana can compete with other cocoa-producing countries. For WADR, Nadidi Teti, Accra.
You are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Senegalese President Diomaye Faye obtains the Constitutional Council's approval to dissolve the Assembly. Nigeria's Labour Congress President honors police invitation over questioning regarding investigations into alleged terrorism financing. 5 CSOs in Côte d'Ivoire appeal to UN Special Rapporteur on human rights over government decision to regulate their activities. Still ahead, U.S. government assures Liberia's of its support towards a strong national health system. We do have the guest interview and the sports news. Please stay with us.
You are listening to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal.
As a reminder, we're streaming live on YouTube at WADR and on Facebook, WADR English Service. We take you now into Liberia, where the United States Ambassador Mark Tornell promises the U.S. government's commitment to work closely with Liberia in developing a strong national health science system in Africa. The U.S. envoy was speaking when more than 400 Liberian students completed a rigorous training in the Excellence in Science Education program. WADR's Darlington Pogba reports.
The 4-week preparatory program was designed to equip students with learning tools for their journey in pre-medical and preclinical studies at the University of Liberia. In remarks during the closing ceremony, the U.S. Ambassador Mark Tornell said the United States will work to empower the youth of Liberia in achieving their goals.
And we're building that future together, a future where innovation, as we saw, critical thinking, some fun and learning and leadership will be the driving forces for that positive change. And that's why today is, I think, so special, because all of you, among you, are of the future. We hope doctors, nurses, lab technicians, and health researchers of Liberia. You're the next generation of those critical health workers, and your journey is just beginning. And strengthening Liberia's health workforce is absolutely crucial.
University of Liberia Acting President R. Hassan Contet said the Excellence in Science Education program is a testament of the university's commitment to academic excellence.
Through initiatives like these, we are not just educating students, we are shaping the future of healthcare in Liberia and beyond. The graduation is a culmination of month-long workshop where the students embrace new challenges, explore complex scientific concepts, as we have seen in their scientific experiments, 2 presented today, and deepen their passion for the health sciences.
Some of the beneficiaries used the occasion to appreciate the United States and the University of Liberia for affording them the opportunity to gain knowledge.
Yeah, I want to be a physician because for now in Liberia we have less health workers, and I think it is important that we enroll in this essential field of studies so that we can render critical services to our country, Liberia.
The program is part of the USAID-funded platform to encourage enrollment in research for a healthy Liberia. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Pogba in Monrovia.
From Liberia to Cote d'Ivoire, where several civil society organizations are protesting against the government's decision to regulate their activities. This decision, made in the name of combating transnational crime, has prompted Ivorian civil society organizations to appeal to the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights, citing an infringement on the freedom of assembly. Francis Boniface has the details.
Through an ordinance issued by President Alassane Ouattara to regulate the activities of civil society organizations, the state aims to combat terrorism and money laundering. The Ivorian Ministry of the Interior seeks to ensure that the funding methods of civil society organizations comply with current requirements for combating transnational organized crime. This new ordinance replaces the 1960 law that previously governed civil society organizations. According to the Ministry of Interior, the previous law did not address several issues, including money laundering and terrorism financing. Challenging the new ordinance, 5 civil society organizations have appealed to the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights, arguing that it constitutes an infringement on the freedom of assembly. These organizations plan to undertake several actions to persuade the government to withdraw the ordinance.
Francis Boniface reporting there.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
This segment takes us back to Ghana, where the country's Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Damperi, confirmed that the police is making significant efforts to ensure journalists no longer feel threatened by law enforcement. He stated that this is a crucial step in the police force's commitment to becoming one of the best public institutions in the country. Why Ghana is known for being one of the most peaceful countries in the region, there have been recent incidents of police mistreating journalists. Anthony Akwe is a security and conflict analyst. He provides security analysis about this latest statement ahead of Ghana's election.
Well, I think that it is a positive statement. My major problem is that his positive statement must be backed by a robust measures and a complete action, because these are very statements that years back we've heard a lot of Inspector General of Police making such statements, especially in a few months to election. For more than 6-7 years that an astute journalist was killed in the person of Ahmed Raleigh, which, as I speak, the police has not been able to fish the very people who perpetrated such criminal action. And so it is important for the IGP to know that it is not about the mere rhetoric, but such statement must be backed with a robust action.
In that case, what are some measures or actions you think the Ghanaian police force needs to institute to avoid further manhandling of journalists by police officers?
Well, I think that the Ghana Police Service must first recognize that ensuring security and safety of journalists cannot be done by only the security institution. They need to start an initiative regarding capacity building where journalists can be trained, as in how best they can ensure personal security. And again, explaining detail to journalists the non-sensitive part of police approach or strategy going to this 2024 election, so that the journalists can also become the eye of the police and will be able to report any criminal activity that might have popped up in any of the 16 regions in the country. Quite apart from that, it is also important that the Ghana Police Service put in the necessary methods, strategy, a collaborative intelligence gathering that will give a real-life intelligence for a proactive approach in handling any unforeseen circumstances or emergencies, even before, during, and after this general election 2024.
You described the statement as a positive one. However, there have been reports in the past of police manhandling journalists. How does this statement assure journalists of their safety, especially Ghana is heading to a major election in December this year?
Well, in security, we have what we call psychological warfare, which mostly we say that rhetorical statements are part of the psychological warfare. which also give people some sense of protection. But psychological welfare statements are not enough, even though they send some kind of positive signal. They are only enough when they are backed with robust action. So such statements send a positive signal where people feel safe because the Inspector General of Police, who we know is the head of the internal security operative in the country, has spoken. And so he gives some kind of hope to not only journalists, but even the citizens in the country. But the reality is that the positive statement can be seen as more positive when it backed with a robust action to tackle any unforeseen emergencies. That we can say that statement is more positive.
Anthony Akoi is a security and conflict analyst. And here is Sankule Janko with sports.
Hello, very warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The Confederation of African Football (CAF) is launching the CAF Video Assistant Referee VAR Academy for the 54 CAF member associations, a move that is aimed at elevating the standard of officiating in Africa, according to CAF official website. Following CAF's recent hosting of the most successful Africa Cup of Nations that saw the quality of officiating being singled out, CAF is building onto this success with the innovative academy set to be rolled out between September and October 2024. The CAF VAR Academy will train elite referees across the continent for international competitions and national championships on the use of VAR and ensure that Africa continues to produce elite referees as seen in recent times. CAF Technical Development Director Raul Chipenda said the VAR Academy program is a practical step by CAF to improve the standard of football match officiating in Africa and ensure that African referees are equipped to compete against the best in the world. The CAF VAR Academy, which will be attended by elite referees across CAF's 54 member associations, will also be the first step in introducing VAR across the continent, CAF reports. As part of its rollout program, CAF will be embarking on a continental drive of conducting CAF VAR Academy workshops across its zonal unions in the next few months, where 180 referees are expected to be reached. That's it for sports. It's back to you.
We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening. A man of thanks to Krista Mukidi and Mawudo Juf for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. I am Augustine Kali. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.9